Assalamu alaikum, Brother Ayman Khalil from Azad. It's an honor for having you. This is actually our first podcast that we are actually having a guest speaker. Our other podcast with Sister Khadija obviously talk about different issues, and we really want, the idea about our podcast is really to bring real life, issues and obviously opportunities, which alhamdulillah, we're very excited to actually have the first one as an opportunity. So mashallah, you are one of the people that manage people's assets and money, and this is one of the biggest things that I feel the Muslim community is not educated about. When it comes to money, we think only for the rich, right? And we ought to just focus on doing our daily jobs. So as a person who actually works at a Noor Islamic school, I always thought that I'm gonna rely only on my social security, right? And then reality hit me. I realized social security is not going to be enough, right? And alhamdulillah, Azad is the one option that our school actually offers us for retirement. So maybe even before we start talking about Azad, can you please educate our Muslim community about especially retirement? I remember you were with us yesterday during the seminar, and you said the options that we had in the past no longer exist. Can you please elaborate on that?
So yeah, as we mentioned yesterday, in the past you always heard something called like the three-leg stool at retirement, which was social security, pension, and your own saving or money. Now social security is there, but if you ever go to your social security website, and now they encourage you to go to the website, they show you a projection, and part of the idea there, they want to shock you. They want you to realize that social security will not be enough for you. Pension is something until mid-90s. A lot of companies in the US were offering it. Unfortunately, it's becoming like dinosaurs. Very, very few places other than government entities, state or federal, offer pension. And pension is, kind of a contract that you work for me X amount of years. When you leave, I'm going to use some kind of a mathematical equation, and I'm going to give you a monthly income for the rest of your life. And this helps, but unfortunately, it's very, very few places that offer it now, and that's where it becomes extremely important that each person, according to their means, plan for their future, so they have another pool of money, another source of income that they can rely on in addition to social security. And that's the whole idea of yesterday's seminar, that we want to educate the community that you don't have to be rich. Whatever your monthly income is, put aside a specific percentage, treat yourself as a bill, and start saving towards your retirement. Because I even tell people sometimes, it's very nice that you want to save for your kids' education. It's noble, you want to help them with their tuition. But in a worst case scenario, let's say you could not do this, the kid can work at school, they can get scholarship, they can even get some grants, they can take in a very tight situation some student loans. But if you reach retirement, you want to retire, you're not going to work, and unfortunately there is nothing called retirement loan, but there's student loans. So I always tell everyone, put yourself first, get your retirement saving on track, then you can think about your kids' education and their saving.
So you mentioned something very important, which I think a lot of us actually fail to implement. And again, like we mentioned always to our audience, we are about practicality, right?
Right.
You said treat yourself as a bill. I think one of the biggest issues that we have at our community, and I used to be like that. Saving, what it meant to me, which now it's totally the opposite, was spend and then whatever is left over is a saving, which always is not the case. You'll always find yourself running dry. But you said treat yourself as a bill, meaning factor that part of the investment as a bill, meaning it's got to be cut out from that paycheck, right?
Right, absolutely, because there is always something to spend money on. And I remember years and years back, one of our managers used to say, people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan. Because nobody wants to be at 62, 65 and discover that I have to watch every cent and penny I'm spending because I only have social security. And I know, especially now with inflation and everything around us is expensive. And there is always something that it is nice to do. it would be nice to spend money on this, nice to spend money on that. So I can guarantee you, regardless how much money you make, you can make $25,000 a month as an example, and still you will have $0 at the end of the month because there is always something you want to spend on. But when you treat yourself as a bill, where you put a specific percentage each month and you pay it towards your retirement, then you know that this is like my electricity, water, mortgage, what have you, I am also paying myself.
Absolutely, and this is something actually that is going to take us to the next point, which obviously we have it in Noor, alhamdulillah, and that is really planning for our retirement, right? And this is something that you really have to look with your employers, because there's always that, I'm not going to say always, but there's always that high chance that your employer will also match, to a specific percentage. Can you please tell us a little bit more about this option, which alhamdulillah we do have in Noor, where it's not just the money you're investing, it's also the match, which is money, unfortunately, all the time is unused.
Absolutely. And I remember this conversation when I used to live here in the area before I moved, with the school board and with the ICCD board, and they were like, we really want to do something for our teachers. And at the same time, we don't want to give them like salary raise. We don't want to give them a bonus at the end of the year that they will end spending it. What is available out there where we can do something for our teachers? At the same time, we make sure that we are helping them saving towards retirement. And one of the options available is Simple IRA. It's one of the programs that the IRS offer for the ones who have less than 100 employees. So Noor School qualifies, and it allows you to incentivize your employees that if you participate, as long as you do 3% of your salary, I'm going to give you 3%. The match. It goes to the account. The beauty of the Simple IRA for such a small place like here, anyone who participates, they are vested immediately in the match, so it's their money. And at the same time, they don't pay taxes on it. It helps them towards their goals of retirement. And I'm very, very happy over the years, because when we started, I think it was only 1 or 2 teachers who participated. Yeah, and I'm very happy over the years now. We have roughly like 65% who are participating, taking advantage of the match, and doing something towards their future and planning for their retirement. So I encourage every place to try to do something where they give a little push to their employees to save toward retirements. And Simple IRA is one of the best. It's very, very, that's why it's called simple. It's very simple to set up. Yeah. No annual filing with the IRS, no complicated paperwork. You can decide like, do you have to work for me 1 year or 2 years before you are eligible? And once they are eligible, they do 3%, you match them. And before you know it, few years, and the employees themselves start feeling happy because they can see money in their accounts.
Money is there. So this will take me actually to the next step, because a lot of our community members, unfortunately, due to a number of factors, there's always that question mark. And I think this is where Azad comes, and this was one of the main reasons we actually had the seminar. Shariah compliance,
yes,
right? Because a lot of people is like, oh, I don't know what I'm investing my money into. Can you please give us, obviously, alhamdulillah, you gave us a lot yesterday. I don't think we're going to be able to cover it here. And like you mentioned before, and even during the seminar, that the website is there. Obviously, you could be reached, and we'll share the information, inshallah, with our audience. Tell us just a little, give us that level of comfort to know that, that Azad is the option, especially for us Muslims, right? Knowing that we don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned yesterday, Azad is one of the major companies in the US. I mean, there's other companies that also offer Sharia compliance, and Azad has been around for 25 years. So we did not just start yesterday, and alhamdulillah, we have a great track record. And when we started 25 years ago, the criteria for like what is a Sharia compliance investment, there's financial ratios, there is debt to asset ratio, there is what ratio you look at if the company have a secondary line of business, that's the income there is not halal. So 25 years ago, the criteria was a little bit discrepancy here and there. A few years back, we have IOFI. It's an organization based in Bahrain, contemporary Muslim scholars who deal with fiqh al-mu'amalat, transactions, and this kind of like arrangements sit there in their board, and now they issue guidelines. So now it's actually easier to be assured that if you go with Azad, you are going with a company that 100% following IOFI criteria for Sharia compliance investments.
And we have to highlight here because a lot of people say, oh, Azad is part of IOFI, that's why they're kind of taken care of. Azad is not affiliated with IOFI, it's independent, but they do set the guidelines.
IOFI is an independent, but the same way you have like independent bodies that set up accounting standards.
Yes, exactly.
Or they set up standards for engineering or stuff like this. IOFI is an independent body. Azad is not affiliated with it with any way or form. And IOFI does not only like set standard for Azad, they set standard internationally. For anyone who's dealing with Sharia compliance, regardless if it is investment, mortgages, because what is also now more available in the market is sukuk. And sukuk is a Sharia compliance leasing bonds. They are traded in London, Dubai, and Singapore. And IOFI set the standard for these sukuk, and a lot of the well-known international names issue sukuk. Because if they are looking to get financing from the Muslim market, they are not going to buy bonds, so instead they buy sukuk. And GE, and I mean, I don't want to be mentioning one or two companies here, but a lot of the well-known names in the US market issue sukuk, and they are traded in these international markets, and IOFI also sets standards for this. So I know it's unfortunately in our community, in our culture, for whatever reason, we always look with some suspicions when we're dealing with between each others, and it shouldn't be this way. So IOFI is an independent international body that sets these standards, not only for Azad, for everyone working in the US and internationally with the Muslim consumers.
So I know we're typically kind of we set our time a little bit shorter, but I think this is actually very important. So we'll continue the conversation, which takes me to the next level. And subhanAllah, this is part of our, and I'm going to actually set the difference. Back in the days when somebody passes away, they leave land, houses, mashallah,
Yes.
But now we don't leave any of those, right? Sometimes we die and we're still paying off our houses. So I know Azad offers us the opportunity to the best of our ability to set something aside for our kids. And this is something that I personally, as a father, I always thought about this. I think this is something called generational wealth, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the possibilities or opportunities for parents who are out there and they really want to set, in addition to taking care of ourselves, like it was mentioned earlier, to really try our best to take care of our kids down the road, right? We're not going to have millions of dollars. I mean, if somebody's wealthy, alhamdulillah, but and how little of an investment they could actually do, because a lot of times we're like, I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars. How can we do it for our kids?
Yeah, and as I mentioned yesterday in the seminar, we are not legal advisors, but we can guide our clients or even the community at large when we do this kind of educational seminars where to go. So of course there is different ways. I mean, you can have simple vehicles, setting an individual or joint account with a transfer on death designation that upon the decease of this person, the money will go to their children in a specific way, or to their spouse and to their children. For the more sophisticated clients, of course, they go to trusted lawyers, they set trusts, and we cannot be a trustee, and we don't act as a trustee, but we have the capability and willing to manage and invest the money inside the trust for the clients. So we are growing this money for them according to their values, in accordance with the criteria that IOFI have for Sharia compliance investments. Other ways also is to be aware, and I always raise these points up with my clients once they reach retirement. How is the designation of beneficiary on their IRA is? Are they willing to or more comfortable having their spouse first as 100% beneficiary, and upon her leaving this earth, then it goes to the children? Or do they want from day number one to set it up to be distributed to everyone according to Islamic inheritance rules? And of course, we make them also aware that these laws change all the time. Few years back, if someone inherited an IRA and was not a spouse, they could use the same distribution table as the deceased person to take money out each year. The laws that changed a few years back, 2020 I believe. Now if you inherit an IRA, you're not the spouse, you have 10 years. By the end of year number 10, the account should have zero. So when you inherit a big IRA, you have to, using the advice of also your tax like specialist or accountant, to decide how you are going to take money each year. But this is kind of the things we educate our client about it. We give them the general rules. We make them understand we are not tax advisors, we are not legal advisors, and they can seek more professional advice, but at least they know what to ask.
What to ask. Wallahi, jazakallah khair. We are running out of time.
Barakallah feek.
And inshallah, towards the end, maybe if you can share with us your contact information. I'm sure our audience, they have too many questions that we cannot cover in one session.
Absolutely.
So if you could please let us know if anyone is interested in following up on one of those points, or even have other questions, I'm sure they do. If you could please let us know how can they reach out to you guys.
I mean, we have a ton of information on our website, azadassets.com. And also if anyone want to call me, 518-693-6845, or you can even email me. It's Ayman, Ayman, @azad.net. And Azad is AZZAD.net. Jazakumullah khair.
Allah jazakallah khair, Brother Ayman. It's a pleasure. Like I mentioned, this is our first guest on our podcast. It's truly an honor for having you. And like it was mentioned earlier, please do reach out to Brother Ayman if you have any questions, and we'll see you guys inshallah soon. Assalamu alaikum.